Fishers across Europe are facing a new challenge. The new landing obligation, or discard ban, means they'll need to fish more selectively and retain 100% of their catch on board. David and Alex Stevens are skippers of Newlyn-based vessel the Crystal Sea. They have faced up to the new way of fishing demanded by the landing obligation, working within a catch quota trial run by a UK fisheries agency which involves fully documenting their fishing activity with cameras. The Crystal Sea's discards are now down to less than 2%. Crystal Sea's philosophy is simple: embrace change, work in partnership, and pave the way for others to follow.
Well, since I left school, I've always wanted to be a fisherman, and working within a family business has been great, certainly for me and for our family. I've been fishing 25 years this year. My brother's been fishing 23 years. It's a family-run business, and we worked with my dad before that, and the last 10 years me and my brother have been working the vessel that we have now. So we work a very mixed fishery of 25 different species. The main species by volume would be anglerfish, haddock, megrim, lemon sole, John Dory, squid, and cuttlefish and whiting. 3 years ago we were approached by the MMO asking would we want to be involved in the MMO trials, and my initial response was, why on earth would I want cameras aboard my boat? But when I looked into it, just really from a curiosity point of view, me and Alec are both quite pioneering, we like to be trying new things, but also the incentives are right, and we wanted to take our business into a situation what the future would be like for us. So having the cameras on board gave us a very good taste, or certainly a very strong reality of what the landing obligation would look like. Within the Catch Quota Trials, our vessel's already working within the landings obligation, so we're operating a discard ban now. We're given incentives to be able to do this, so we're given a little bit of extra quota, and that quota came from an uplift of 5% on the UK's TAC, which was given by the European Commission for scientific reasons, and the UK used it for Catch Quota Trials. The cameras are on all the time. We don't find them intrusive. In actual fact, we're finding them a very helpful scientific tool, and they have far more to offer to everyone within the system than just enforcement. They should be primarily about delivering the data that we need to manage the fishery in the right way, which will then enable the industry to be able to operate a more reactive and real-time fishery. The work that is being done now, I've seen of it, the real-time data capture is essential to have a reactive fishery. So that's why I'm very keen that the cameras have become more of a scientific tool. The fishery managers and the scientists are able to see what's happening on the ground. As a fisherman, I'm able to react to the fishery because I have to work within the criteria of the catch quota scheme. I'm recording and saving all the fish. So I'm reacting very quickly to the changes on the grounds. So I'm adapting my gear methods, and then I'm able to tell the policymakers what I'm doing, and then the scientists are able to look at their data and quite often change their data within a year because the fishery is changing in a way which they didn't predict. We've come a long way in altering our gear. We adapt our nets to whatever conditions we meet within that year, or even actually within different months or different weeks. We work a twin rig trawler, and twin rig trawling is quite helpful because you can use a control net alongside your modified nets. So what we've been doing is fitting different panels in scientific nets. We've been then running alongside a control net so that we can measure the differences between the effectiveness of what we're implementing. In 2014, when we were seeing a lot of juvenile haddock come on the ground, we implemented a panel within the cod end, which is, we tried 3 or 4 different size panels until we got the right size. So this is the 100mm square mesh panel that we fitted in the cod end. It's 10 meshes wide by 30 meshes deep. We found that this reduced juveniles by 87%. So we had excellent results with it. The added bonus of using that is also it's better quality fish, so it's also been a helpful marketing tool. Cameras being on board the vessel, they alter your mindset because they're putting you in a different environment. It is extra pressure. One of the best things that the cameras can deliver, which is vital, is real-time data on erratic recruiting species, haddock, cod, whiting and hake. Real-time data is essential to get these right, because if we don't get these right and most up-to-date scientific advice on these species, and that means in year, then we will then suffer with them becoming a choke species. I found the cameras extremely helpful because they answer a lot of the questions of why we're not getting the policy to match the fishery. But policymakers have got to understand that they need to create the corridor for that information to travel through. For that to happen, we need to be able to speed up the process of that data passing through the system to get to policy, and that is the challenge that we face. Also is we need to create the incentives for the fishermen to be able to put the cameras on the vessel. This doesn't need to be on every vessel, it just needs to be at the reference level. We need to respect each other's knowledge and then bring that knowledge together and work it through to a system where we deliver on a better policy. What the industry needs is greater security on where their quota is going to be coming from and a longer plan on how that quota is going to be used. So we can then work to a longer term economic plan. We need to take that 5, 10, 15 years further down the line. And we also need to find the balance within the quota so that we can actually go out and take and work within that fishery in the right balanced way. I think it's essential to understand that we're just one vessel doing this, and by no means does this mean that we've solved the problems that we're going to encounter as we work towards the landing obligation. I hope it goes a long way to answering the questions that we need to answer to work towards solving the discard problem that the industry and the policy has created. We have to understand that just one data set is not going to reflect what the entire fishery consists of. If you could work a very similar model that we're doing at a fleet level, so let's say for instance you've got 12 boats working within that fishery, if you had 2 of them with cameras on board, you could run a fishery very effectively with a lot of trust in the system. And I think you will then see a very reactive and prosperous industry from really having its own ability to determine its own future.
The Crystal Sea has almost entirely eliminated juvenile haddock and reduced the overall quantity of haddock from the catch, whilst also increasing the market value of landings. They are fully accountable for their activities, and by ensuring the incentives are in the right place, they are able to make important investments to make the trial successful. They have negotiated an essential derogation in EU technical rules, legalising highly successful gear modifications. The outcomes of the trial are now being used to influence national and European policy thinking. The Crystal Sea has committed to making their fishery 100% discard-free ahead of the demersal landing obligation coming into effect in January 2016.